What a cracking morning, just here at a Lyscombe rewilding site in Dorset. A little bit of a breeze, didn't put the external microphone on so the breeze might be a bit annoying. There's a whitethroat. Excellent. I didn't have a single whitethroat, well it's the first, that's a Lyscombe tick for me, didn't have a single whitethroat last year. They're obviously back from migration now, it's the 1st of May 2025. So it's good to get my first ever whitethroat on Lyscombe. I was baffled as to why I wasn't hearing them last year. I was here in midsummer, but I started in July, so maybe I was just a bit late. They'd bred, they'd had their chicks, and they were all quiet by then probably, but I didn't see any. Anyway, the hedgerow on the side here is growing up nicely, so it will be allowed to spread out into the field, expand outwards as basically a border of shrub habitat. This grass on the chalk, lay grassland basically, species poor, reseeded lay grassland from the previous ownership, is being cut for hay just to remove the biomass, obviously no inputs, remove the biomass over the summer, and we're aiming to, that will happen to this arable, it was arable, and the arable ahead of us you can see, the aim being to strip out any of the last bits of nutrients locked up in the soil. Phosphates are a bit more tricky, but the other kind of nutrients can be taken out with the crop, taken off site and fed to cows, I think. Point being that depleting the soil nutrient level will take it back towards a more natural circumstance, which will be low fertility. Gradually the soil ecology will rebuild itself, and the plant communities which depend or interact to a very large degree with the soil ecology, plant communities are rebuilt in partnership with the soil ecology, and gradually you would expect, obviously this is an open-ended site, so we're not managing for any particular habitat. You can really hypothesize that this would develop as flower-rich or forb-rich lowland chalk grassland initially, under the influence of grazers and browsers, wild deer and pretend oryx, longhorn cattle. Those plant communities will reassemble under that lower soil fertility circumstance, and then the hedgerows will march out into the field, and blackbirds and co will poop out seeds of blackthorn and hawthorn in particular, wild rose, that kind of stuff, and you would expect kind of a flower-rich grassy shrubland mosaic to develop over the first 3-4 decades, and then very gradually beyond that, who knows, but I would guess it will be a few trees will appear in among the shrubby masses that appear in the middle of the fields, and yeah, beyond that, so 3 or 4 decades of open flower-rich shrubby grassland. There's quite a lot of biomass here. It's about a foot deep. It's only the 1st of May. I'm not going to walk into the field because there's skylarks nesting in here. But yeah, beyond those very early decades of very early successional calcareous shrubland grassland habitat, who knows how it will develop. My guess, my hypothesis is a few scattered trees, so basically wood pasture. Then maybe the tree density will increase over the longer term. It's very hard to know how to set. Oh, what's this? Little red campion there. That's nice. So I think there's knapweeds in the margin. Let's go and see if we can find any. So it did have a bit of a field margin when it was under the previous farm management. I've certainly seen knapweed. What is it, common knapweed? Is that what it would be? Yeah, so we got the leaves of it here. There's knapweed. And there's plenty in the sward here. Probably see that. Let's bring the gimbal down a little bit. There's plenty of knapweed leaves. It's going to be nice over the summer for the bumblebees and butterflies and whatever. Yeah, the knapweed isn't more than 3 metres from the field margin. There's one with a bit of a flower spike there. That'll be flowering very soon. Can't hear any yellowhammers or corn buntings. So there's certainly corn buntings around last year. I assume they'll still nest out in this field. It's the sward remains. There's some bare ground in there. It's not closed up completely. It might open a bit more once, or as the nutrient levels are depleted and the grasses are kind of knocked back a little bit. Grasses are obviously being favoured by soil fertility. So I think the sward will open up a bit through time rather than close up. Or at least the percentage of grassland cover will decline and the percentage of bare ground and wildflower cover should increase. Lots and lots of seed heads of what's the face, can't remember what they're called. So there'll be goldfinches coming down here soon. So there's really no sign of any chalk grassland wildflowers in this sward. Any of the perennial species we'll expect to start to appear. Got to keep an eye open for ticks. It's very important. Right, I've got to go back to the car because I need to go and do a farm visit, but yeah. Hear a yellowhammer calling. Where is he? Over there. Oh, over in that dying ash tree, I think. Centre of the frame. I can certainly hear a yellowhammer over there. Just imagine this this landscape is now owned by nature, and it's going to probably pretty rapidly. There's more red valerian over there. Sorry, not red valerian. Red campion over there. Pink campion, whatever it is. Yeah. So from now onwards, nature can basically reclaim its rightful place here with very little human intervention. We'll do a bit of intervention, so we'll create some brash piles out in the middle of this field to replicate the kind of bashing about that elephants and rhinos and that would have done, leaving debris, woody vegetation, woody biomass, branches and twigs out in the middle of the field. So we'll do that, and that will provide little nuclei for germination of shrubby species deposited by blackbirds and song thrushes and redwings and fieldfares over the winter. Hopefully it will spread the rabbits out a bit as well, because although not a native species, although we are turning into Iberia, so some would argue that we should introduce non-native, Iberian species to places like this. There's a silver wymoth, I think. Yep, silver wymoth. Yeah, so we'll put a few brash piles in to induce rabbit warrening. Although not a native species, they do form that kind of intricate mosaic of tussocky grass and very tightly grazed grass, but as do the longhorn cattle combined with the conic ponies that are on site. Those two, I call them species, wild horse and aurochs. Those two are currently doing good work in the SSSI site of special scientific interest at Lyscombe, just over in Lyscombe Bowl over there, bringing that into good heart. One of the things I really love about Lyscombe is it blends the two, kind of tried and tested and proven conservation management, which is what the Dorset Wildlife Trust are doing within the sites of special scientific interest and the areas that designated sites of nature conservation importance. So kind of tried and tested habitat management in those areas, and then in the wider landscape, the wider Lyscombe, a hands-off approach, just putting back the missing species and missing processes, and then standing back and seeing how nature develops of its own accord under the influence of those missing species as far as you can do. We obviously can't have elephants and rhinos back here yet. More red campion. Is red and pink campion the same? Tell me in the comments section. Chiff chaff in the distance. Oh, there's some knapweed towards the middle of the, well, not the middle, but further out from the boundary. A little bit of scarlet pimpernel there. Some other bits and pieces. Some annuals. Lots of scarlet pimpernel actually. So we're obviously not allowed to reintroduce wild boar yet. That needs to change, but in the meantime I'd like us to have some pigs here. Only 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Just to maintain that intermediate level of disturbance that those annual wildflowers will have co-evolved to. What's that on there? Nice big fat queen bumblebee. Is that in focus? Probably not. Just heard an interesting trill there. Didn't see where it came from. Well, I saw the direction it came from, but I didn't see the bird. Right, I've got to go and do my farm visit. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next instalment of my rewilding walks around Lyscombe.